Hello. I'm Taylor. You know that. This is the first reboot of new tapes, so I'm excited to be here. If you're tuning in, I'm very excited for you to be here. I'll kind of give a few seconds for people to join if they feel so inclined. Hello, good morning. It's Saturday. Good morning on the West Coast. Good afternoon everywhere else. All right. So I'm very excited. This is a reboot of a project that I started back at the end of winter. So back at the beginning of 2020, before the world collapsed, I began this project as a way to kind of create accessible hypnosis. So it's born from the idea that in order to break kind of pattern loops, we have to create new ones, right? So the idea was the only way to rewrite old tapes is to write new ones. And that's something that's really personal for me that hypnosis has been really great for. I'm someone who experiences sort of cyclical thinking. I get caught in sort of mental loops, negative thinking patterns, that sort of thing. Hello everyone, welcome, I'm so excited. So for me it felt like a really good exercise in a small package, just a way to kind of create small shifts and not necessarily, allowing myself to feel so overwhelmed by trying to change. So in that sense, I created new tapes as an exercise that I could share with people. I studied hypnosis last fall, and I kind of took a year to really let all of it integrate and process. And so now is when the time felt right. So I'm very excited to bring this back. But yes, so I mentioned a moment ago that this is a project that I began at the end of winter and very quickly put away as the depression of the year hit. And so I'm excited to feel really charged in bringing this back for y'all. And doing it live felt important. I wanted to kind of create a group setting feeling, even if we're not really together, even if we're all in different rooms. It felt powerful to create a live space in order to explore these things together. And of course, this will be saved. And if you have to dip at any point, or if you want to come back and revisit, it will be up and you can use it as often or as, use it whenever. So I'm just going to explain new tapes as though none of you know anything about it, in case you don't. So ultimately, it is an astrologically guided practice. So I have notes. We'll be doing this every new moon, and I have notes about the lunation and all of the other aspects happening around the new moon. I will go through those notes with you, and I have created this worksheet that is handy if you feel so inclined. That's on my website. You can see it's got 4 boxes on it. There's a word bank, change box, a peaceful place, and a payoff. And this worksheet's not necessary. You can absolutely do this on a piece of paper if you like, or you can do it all in your head. That's totally fine. But I am kind of a nerd and I like having things broken down in really simple steps. So I thought it could be helpful. But as I'm going through the themes of this new moon, you are invited to kind of write down whatever sticks out to you, whatever feels relevant, whatever you kind of want to root into your practice. We'll talk about the themes. You can create a word bank based off of whatever really stands out and that you want to work with. And from there, we start working on the change box. So what that is basically taking what you've put into your word bank and considering what sort of changes you would like to put into place today. And again, this is a short practice, a small practice, so you can really do it like month to month. What sort of small changes would I like to create today? And then we move into a peaceful place. So that's where you write down ideally a place outside in nature that's comforting to you or that you would like to explore. Write as many details as you can, and we'll go through these instructions once we get there, but just giving you the breakdown. And then we identify some payoffs. If these are changes that I begin putting into motion, then perhaps this could open me up to these new possibilities. So we write down together what some goals could be and how these changes we're setting into motion could begin to flourish for us over time. Cool. And then we do a trance together. So that's going to be really fun. I will preface by saying it's ideal if you can be in a spot that is quiet, that's comfortable, and that you can ideally relax into very deeply. So something that's, I mean, everyone has a different setup. Everyone's got a different, I trust that you know a space that's best for you, but it's good if you can have some focus and be able to sit or recline into something that will hold you while you relax. Okay? So, all right, on that note, I think we're ready to start. I want to give you guys a moment to get set up if you need to. And again, if you want the worksheet, it's on my website. And if not, you can feel free to take a piece of paper and kind of create some little categories for yourself. That's mirrored, so you can't read backwards. Oh, maybe you can. I can read backwards. But we'll go through the specific parts of the worksheet once we get there. But we can start talking about this astrology. Woo! Mars stationed direct yesterday. I bet some of you at the very least felt maybe a shift. Maybe you feel like things are starting to finally move forward, albeit very slowly. Maybe you feel tuned into a sense of agency once more. You're kind of getting back into, right? Like it definitely feels, at the very least, I feel like I can breathe more easily. So this is really exciting, and it's especially important because Mars is ruling this new moon in Scorpio. So what perfect timing. Mars stations direct on Friday the 13th, and then brings us this Scorpio new moon. So Mars is very involved in this new moon, and we'll talk all about that. All right, we'll start with the themes of Scorpio season, since this is the Scorpio new moon. And you likely know some keywords that are affiliated with Scorpio. It's usually about transformation. It's usually about diving into the depths, going into maybe the subconscious realm, or looking at our bonds between us and other people. There's a lot about reading subtle signals. So picking up on what isn't being said, reading between the lines, sort of interpreting for yourself the true nature of a situation, right? There's a lot of regenerative power with Scorpio, shedding in order to start over. And that's really great for Mars too, because Mars is like, I'm ready to do this. Absolutely death and grief. And I think that that's really big for us, especially with this year. It's really, so much has come to the surface, I think, for us to be able to release. And that does involve the death of entities, the death of the past, the death of what felt normal to us and what used to be. Hi, Deb. And, thinking about how we can finally sort of make peace with those things and move into a new cycle. And that also involves trust. So trust is a big part of this too. Thinking about themes of trust. How has our trust evolved over the past year? What do we trust and who do we trust? And how do we honor that, right? Scorpio season is also about intimacy and desire, and those are things that can be really tied to Mars stationing direct as well. I think we've learned so much about what desire means to us, what it's connected to, how we pursue our desires, and ultimately what we make of them. And with Mars direct after this whole year, I think a lot of us are feeling at least ready to reevaluate what that means to us. What do we desire? How do we pursue it? What usually stands in our way, and how are we navigating that now? There's also power. Power is maybe like the biggest keyword for this. We've learned so much about power. Who has it? Who doesn't? What does it cost to get it? What does it? How do you give it? What is the nature of power? What does personal power mean to you? How do you engage with power and with others? How do you share power? What do you use power for? And lastly, this may be a time where we're considering karmic evaluations, especially with Saturn finishing up in Capricorn and Jupiter hitting Pluto for the final conjunction on Thursday. I think there's so much that we are contending with in our history, in our both personal and interpersonally, and as a country. There's so much. The Saturn-Uranus squares next year are going to hit America's south node, so there's definitely karma being released, and we've I don't know, I think we've thought a lot about our actions and consequences and how those things can get carried over in cycles that we need to be more thoughtful about. And with Mars newly direct, this new moon has a lot of initiative power. So it adds a new layer of wanting to shed everything that has been revealed to us during this retrograde. Mars has been in Aries since June, so it's certainly been a lot. Mercury just retrograded, starting in Scorpio and moving back into Libra, and is now retracing its shadow. So there's a lot of information that's really come up for us that we're now figuring out how to deal with. How are we processing this? What are we ready to let go of? So again, more death and grief, making peace with what has not worked out, what has changed indefinitely, irreparably. This can be relationships, this can be our situations, this can be our livelihood. This is a lot of things. So thinking about shedding all of that no longer serves us, revealing to us our sort of more low-level ego needs, and reconciling what we do with those, how we process those, how we make space for those and honor them, but also don't get stuck in them, right? And ultimately, that's clearing the path for us to begin pursuing what's truly important and aligned within us. Cool. So I have this maybe overarching question that you can either write down or just think about, but how would I like to visualize rediscovering or redeveloping agency, right? Okay, cool. So there's a few other aspects happening with this new moon that are supportive of change and reinvigorating our connection to our processes. And that's largely happening with the sun and the moon sextiling Jupiter and Pluto, and the moon is also trining Neptune. So what a great day to be indulging in some hypnosis. We've got Neptune involved. That's fantastic. So with the sun sextiling Jupiter, we may have a more positive mindset than we have in some time. We're open to more expansiveness. We're thinking about group consciousness. There's the thought of self-elevation that benefits the collective. So knowing that what we go after is going to be in line with what is good for the rest of us. That feels very like Emperor in Tarot, right? Which is Aries. We're reflecting on our goals, and we're seeing how singular elements can play into the bigger picture. So now that Mars is direct as well, we're kind of like, okay, this individual action can have this impact on a situation. Sextiling Pluto, there's a desire to initiate change. Great. And specifically changes that benefit the self and the greater good. So more influencing us to make moves that support all of our growth, right? We may be cleaning house, confronting sources of power, again, in our day-to-day life, realigning personal goals with collective goals. And we're also doing some digging beneath the superficial in order to gain a deeper understanding. A deeper understanding of like the whole world that we live in, and also, the role that we play and how these things truly impact us. With the moon sextiling Jupiter, there's an instinct to rely on established emotional connections. So this may be rebonding with those now that things are starting to maybe settle, even though there's still more chaos to come, at least sort of banding together with those we care about. We're getting support from those connections. We are generous in giving support as well. So we receive support from our friends, and we're also able to give that support. We want to work together, and we're also able to understand and speak to others' needs, which is beautiful. There's so much collaborative energy happening with this new moon that I'm really excited about. With Pluto, there's a desire to engage with some of our deeper emotions. So again, great for this practice. We're seeking to understand the meaning of our relationships and the feelings that come with that as those feelings are being brought to the surface. And so we are taking this time now to just make space for everything that's arisen, that's come to the surface for us, just sort of understanding it, categorizing it, putting it where it goes. We may be intrigued by subtle magic. So again, here we are, engaging with some of the mystical, and we're into the intensity. We're ready to be intense. We're interested in mystery, and we really want to engage in that, right? We really want to look beneath the surface. It could also be a good time for checking any compulsive behavior. Pluto likes to show us where we are not as in control as we think we are. And so this is a great time to, especially with Mars direct, say, hey, oh, I do that, don't I? Okay, so maybe that's not good for me. Maybe I won't do that. And this trine to Neptune is great too. It opens us up to being more sensitive to other people. Again, so much collaborative energy. We're sensitive to others' moods and energies, but that also means that we might be drained by them if we extend ourselves too much. There's kind of a lack of boundaries involved with Neptune. And so there may be an inclination to be compassionate with others, to be giving. Because those boundaries are down, we feel more open to share. And we have a desire to offer ourselves into service to others without the expectation of getting things in return, which can be really beautiful, so long as we do it with structure where we're not completely over-giving and then falling apart, right? But ultimately, Neptune brings a lot of intuitive depth to this new moon. We may be big on daydreams or fantasies and wanting to share that with those around us. Now, the final moon aspect is to Saturn, which is really nice. It's also Saturn's day, so great. So with that sextile to Saturn, there's contemplation and reflection, as well as a desire to talk seriously about, well, what's next? What are we going to do? Let's really get real, be realistic, interesting balance between Neptune and Saturn, because those energies don't necessarily vibe. But it is cool to see that we're opening up to these sort of dreamlike potentials, but then getting really serious about, okay, so if that's what we want, how are we going to get there? What's the plan? We want to consult maybe with elders or people who have been in our shoes, people who have been through this before. But we're also considering our needs for the future, right? So again, if this is where we want to go, how are we going to get there? It makes us more willing to take on responsibility, which is fantastic, because again, Mars is back and we're ready to act. So here we are stepping into this role of, here's what I'm willing to do in order to get where we're trying to go. And that's the last aspect of the moon before it moves into Sagittarius. And a couple of things that are important about the day after the new moon tomorrow. The moon is kind of chilling in Sagittarius, but Venus is making a couple of tough aspects. So Venus on Sunday squares Pluto and also Jupiter. So we had this sort of sextile to these planets, how lovely, and then Venus comes through and squares them. And so what does that look like? It means that changes that we're initiating for ourselves ultimately lead to changes in our interpersonal relationships, and that can be difficult to contend with. That can cause fear, jealousy, that can make us feel deeply uncertain and mistrustful if we're expecting the changes that we're going through to be met, tit for tat by others around us. If we're not able to allow others to go down the path they need to personally in order to get to the changes that they're seeking, then we may feel stuck there. We may feel inflexible or afraid. And also on the larger scale, the changes that we want to make personally are exactly what goes against everything that the current system doesn't want for us, right? The changes that we want to make are against the system, and the system will resist. And so there's this larger scale frustration as well. I want this change and you will not allow it. How do I get to where I need to go? And the square to Jupiter kind of makes us less inclined to be disciplined. We're kind of like, well, I'm afraid of these changes, and so I'm just going to indulge in this thing. So the key there is to kind of stay away from overindulging to a point where you're completely missing the opportunity to change here. Don't let fear kind of pull you out of the power of this moment. There could be emotional excess, and that's totally fine in and of itself. But if we allow that to control us, then it could be, we feel farther away from where we'd like to be because we're not really engaging in the moment. We're allowing ourselves to get distracted and to move away from the moment. So, okay, and then the last aspect of tomorrow is that the moon in Sagittarius trines Chiron and Aries. So it is out of the Scorpio zone, but it is what's happening as soon as the moon moves into Sagittarius. So just an interesting note about our personal wounds and sort of developing a supportive attitude towards healing that. So it's a nice little end note. Chiron's like, hello, yes, we're healing, it's beautiful. Okay, cool. All right, so those are all my notes, and we can move into the worksheet. So again, if you've got one, it looks like this. If not, I'll break down the sections for you. But hopefully you were taking some notes in there about anything that stood out to you about these transits, what's striking you personally in your life that you'd like to work with. And so we can take those keywords now and begin to fill out our sheet. So first, I'll give you a moment to write about what you are seeking to change at this new moon. And if anyone feels like putting anything into the chat, absolutely you're invited. But this is totally like, I understand it's a personal exercise. You may be figuring that out right now for yourself. But just go ahead and write down. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, lengthy. It's not, again, we're not thinking so long term. I want to change my life 50 years from now. We're breaking this down into bite-sized pieces, and it can literally just be based off of these notes, based off of these transits. Here are a few small changes I'd like to make for myself. And so I'll just give you a moment right now to do that. Drink some water. Everyone drink water also, this watery moon. Okay. All right, so writing down what you're seeking to change at this new moon. Cool. Also, I don't know why I'm in like, this feels very, I don't know, like horror movie. New moon in Scorpio, the light keeps changing. All right. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds to wrap that up. I do have music for the trance, but I need some like note music. Do 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 Scorpio moon. All right, that's enough. Okay, so wrapping that up in the next few seconds, and then we can take another minute to flesh out the kind of peaceful place that you'd like to visit in this trance. So again, it's best if this place is somewhere in nature. Somewhere, it can be somewhere you've never been that you'd like to visit. That's super awesome. That's great. It can be someplace you've visited a million times and it's your favorite place. That's also fantastic. But you want to write down as many details as you can. What's the time of day in this peaceful place? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? Is the moon out? What's the ground like in this peaceful place? Is it sand? Is it dirt? Is it mud? What other kind of environmental factors are happening here? Is there a breeze? Are there clouds? Are there any sounds? Are there animals near you? Do you hear birds, for example? So just write down, and you don't have to worry about, we're going to do this once a month, so if your peaceful place changes all the time, that's totally fine. If you want to stick to one peaceful place forever and ever, that's beautiful. But there's no pressure here. It's really just what feels good. What feels good to me right now in this moment. I want to be on a mountain, looking out at other mountains. That sounds awesome. I would like that. It's Saturn's Day. Of course I want to be on a mountain. All right, so just giving you a moment to do that now. And I do have notes here, so please forgive me. I'm such a writer. I have to have everything written out in front of me, or else it's not real. Is everyone doing okay so far? I like this thumbs up. This is very helpful. And also, just a note, I invite everyone to give me feedback at the end of this. This is a whole experiment, and I'm certainly going to tweak it as we go, but I'm having fun so far, so I hope you guys are too. All right, so giving you another moment to wrap that up. Okay. And then lastly, our last box, the payoff. So, what's the fun of change unless you can see where it's going to take you? Even if it's just a hope or a fantasy, that's where we start, right? We start with a visualization. So, we can take a moment now, based off of everything that we're changing, to identify some payoffs for doing this work. So, what are a few positive outcomes that will become available to you once you begin embarking on this journey? And these, again, remember these changes can be very small. It can be subtle. It can simply be, I will wake up feeling better. That could be it. That could totally be it. I will have more emotional regulation. Fantastic. That's perfect. It does not need to be, I will have all the answers to everything for the rest of time. That's also a cool one, but you know, gotta leave something to surprise, right? All right, so thinking short term and long term, you can do both. So thinking short term, month to month, in a month, what small changes could I begin to see now that I'm putting this into effect? And we can even jump, let's say 6 months from now. So at the Scorpio full moon, during Taurus season, what are some longer term changes that I could see happening based on what I'm setting into motion now? Cool. All right, giving you a moment. And I will check that my music is ready. Great. Awesome. Okay, I'll be playing some Javanese bells today because they're so peaceful, and that's also what Shauna, the Wishcraft, she's amazing. She's my teacher, and so that's what she played for us, and it's just what I think of when I do hypnosis now. So hopefully that's peaceful for you. All right, you feeling good? You feeling ready? Do you feel like your change box is full of good things? And all right, cool. Okay, so this is where I'll invite you to, if you're not already comfortable, transition into a comfortable seated place where you can let yourself fully relax, but not totally fall asleep. And if you do fall asleep, that's totally fine. That happens all the time. I will be speaking to your subconscious, and you can adventure. That's totally cool. So there's no wrong way to experience trance unless you're experiencing something extremely stressful, and at which point you can just feel free to open your eyes, feel free to come out, or you can jump into your peaceful place. So if anything strikes you in a way that doesn't sit right, just jump into your peaceful place, or just tap out and you can come back. You can revisit it at a different time, or we can talk about it one-on-one. So, all right, let's do it. I'm gonna start some music. Okay. You got these bells. Okay. So, we'll begin by choosing a focal point to work with. I like using my hand. That's sort of the classic hypnosis, entering into trance. So you can pick a point on the back of your hand, but you can also choose a corner of the room. If there's a favorite painting that you have hanging, if there's a piece of art or a plant that's especially soothing to you, you can absolutely choose that as your focal point. Anything that's going to help you come to a neutral headspace is the most important. So I'll give you a moment to pick your spot for the day. And when you're ready, just go ahead and allow your eyes to completely focus on this spot. So let your eyes rest on your hand or on the painting or on the plant, and just feel your eyes begin to relax. As you're letting your eyes relax, go ahead and allow objects in the periphery to fall out of focus and look only at the point that you've selected. Feel your conscious and unconscious mind working together as you deepen your focus. Feel yourself begin traveling inward. Allow yourself to relax and release, trusting that your mind and your body know exactly how to work together in this moment. When you feel ready and relaxed, go ahead and allow your eyes to gently close and rest your hand if need be. Take a moment to identify where in your body you feel confidence, and allow yourself to experience that sensation for a few moments. From that feeling, that place of confidence, identify any tension in your body. And now imagine that tension or that stress leaving your body. Perhaps it drains out of you, starting at your head and moving all the way down your body and out through your feet. Maybe you can see this as a substance as you watch it leave, and perhaps it has a color or a texture. If you're able to, watch it as it leaves you. In a moment, I will count down from 5 to 1, and we will move further and deeper within, trusting that our mind and body know exactly how to work together at this time. 5, allowing any tension in your eyes and in your jaw to release. 4, feeling any tension in your neck release. 3, letting your arms grow heavy and sinking in, perhaps feeling like marble. 2, relaxing and releasing now. And 1, just letting go, traveling even deeper now. And from here, let's travel to our peaceful place. Take a few moments here to fully immerse yourself into your surroundings. What time of day is it for you in your peaceful place? What elements are present? Take in everything in your environment. Perhaps there is sunlight beaming down, warming your skin, or perhaps it is nighttime and you are bathed in moonlight. Is there wind? Can you notice the ground beneath you and what it feels like? Are there any sights or smells that you notice? Take a moment to observe all that is around you. In a moment, I will count us down and we will travel into the ultra height. 3, feel yourself begin to rise up. 2, rising even higher still. And 1, fully elevated above yourself. Look down and observe yourself from above, still in your peaceful place. See yourself and consider what yourself needs at this time. Now see those resources and then send them down to yourself. Feel yourself receiving those resources and take a moment to observe how that feels. Now spend a moment looking at the ultra height, a timeline that is perhaps made of a beam of light or energy. Allow yourself to travel now along this timeline into the future. Look down and see yourself in the future doing well. Consider your payoff box and imagine that you've moved through your blockages and you have gained what is awaiting you on the other side. Observe yourself doing well. What do you admire about your future self? Now I will count us down to visit this future self. 3, floating downward. 2, lowering to your future self. And 1, fully stepping into this future self. Now see yourself fully embodying that future self. Feeling good. Feeling well. Take a moment to look at your present self through the eyes of your future self. What do you appreciate about your present self from this future? If you feel comfortable, go ahead and verbalize this out loud to yourself and allow your present self to receive this appreciation. Feel your present self and future self collaborating together now. And now I will count down to rise us back up to the ultra height. 3, present and future self merging and rising up together. 2, rising even higher now. And 1, back to our timeline of light. Take one more look down at yourself and consider 3 things you are proud of yourself for. Now allow yourself to travel once more along the timeline toward the past. Consider your change box and travel to a time when you were confronted by a blockage and you needed help. Travel to that time now. Now I will count us down to visit this past self. 3, slowly floating downward. 2, even closer now. And 1, stepping into this moment in the past. And now see your present self giving that help and those needed resources to your past self. And feel your past self receiving those resources. Observe your past self now. What does your present self appreciate about your past self? And if you feel comfortable, verbalize this aloud to yourself. And feel your past self receiving this appreciation now. How does this feel? What does this give you now? Feel yourself integrating this experience as we travel back to the ultra height. 3, past, present, and future collaborating together as we rise. 2, rising even higher now. And 1, fully returned to the ultra height. Move through the timeline, back to the present. with these new resources. Are you ready to integrate this updated set of resources? Look down at yourself, still in your peaceful place, and spend a final moment here. Now I will count us back down. 3, lowering down into the present. 2, feeling these new resources integrate. And 1, stepping back into yourself in the present moment, in your peaceful place. And just spend one last moment here for today's practice. Take in all of your surroundings once more. Just allow yourself to feel everything fully. Allow yourself to feel this practice integrating, these resources integrating into your present self. New cells are being generated every day to facilitate healing. In a moment, I will count us out of the peaceful place and out of this trance, back into the present moment, back into our bodies. 3, saying goodbye to our peaceful place for now. 2, traveling back into the present time, back to our present self. And 1, fully integrating back into our bodies in this moment. Take a moment to process, and when you feel ready, you can allow your eyes to open. And I'll give you all a few moments to just allow yourselves to come back whenever you're ready. Hopefully feeling relaxed, hopefully feeling invigorated. And if anyone has anything they'd like to share from this trance, I'm totally stoked and interested to hear it. And if you want to process this privately, I encourage you to spend time journaling. If you have time today, just writing down anything that you were able to experience, anything that came up for you. Yay, I'm so glad. Oh my God, yes. I feel so good. I'm so stoked. As always, if you want to chat more one-on-one about this and more about hypnosis, I am here. I live for this. This is my dream. So I'm just extremely grateful that y'all have joined today and have tried this out with me. It's such an interesting, fascinating, intimate process, and to find ways to share that with y'all is really, I don't know, that's my purpose. So yay, I'm so glad. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm so grateful. Y'all are the best, and I will bring this to it. Yes, thank you, Elise. If you feel like donating, my Venmo handle is the same as my Instagram handle. It is That's So Pisces. The worksheet, if you want it for next time, is up on my site. I'm so glad. Y'all are the best. And I will be posting this to my page. So if you at any point want to review this, revisit this, run through it again, I absolutely encourage you. I think it's delightful practice to just get into a place of visualization with yourself. And we will be doing this again for the Sagittarius new moon, which I can't even think about. The word this year is so crazy. But this was so much fun, and I'm just so honored that y'all joined. Thank you so much, and I'll see you very soon. I hope you really enjoy this new moon and Mars being direct, and just allowing these waves of change to merge with us and to inspire us. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.